Hello and welcome to Marvel's Razor's Wrath, the Cognition DLC. In today's episode, I will be showing you how I've set up 3 different contraptions, which consist of the crane, pistons powered by buttons, as well as a grate powered by steam. Let's take a look at the crane first. So, if I just quickly simulate the game, you can see that the crane will go up slowly, raising the cogs up, which are physics based. So when the player actually jumps on them, their cogs will go side to side. Let's have a quick look on how I've set that up. You can see that it just uses a very simple timeline. It waits 3 seconds from the start of the game, and it's got a timeline with rotation, and another timeline with another rotation for the actual piston connector. I've divided this crane into separate parts, so you would have the actual crane cog connector. When you rotate this, you can see that the tubes are spinning with it as well, and then you would have a very simple cable on the right as well as the left, which would essentially stretch and shrink as the crane goes up or down. Another arm uses similar principle to rotate the cog, rotating the actual arm itself, and from here you're able to see the actual physics rope connected to the chains of the cog, allowing for the entire thing to just sway right and left. Just compile and save that very quick. In the construction script, allowing to basically have this value exposed. So depending on my swing limits, I can set this to higher value, meaning that the crane is gonna swing in a higher amount of degree, right, left, forward and backwards. For now, as a default, is set to 2.5. Here I've set it to 25 for this crane, as well as 25 for this crane. Right, so the next thing we are going to be focusing on is this little grate powered by steam. If I quickly simulate the game, you can see that the grate goes up as the steam pushes it up, and then goes back down when the steam extinguishes itself. This also allows the player to stand on top of it and being launched in midair, and then goes back down. Now I'm going to show you how I've set up the grate itself. Again, it uses a bunch of timelines. In here you can see that it uses a custom event. It waits 3 seconds from the start of the game, activates all of the steam, and then activates the actual rattle, which is another timeline which I'm using for the cog grate itself. Since I've separated it into different parts, as you can see, so you've got your base, and then you've got your grate itself. Obviously 2 different particle systems. One to give a little bit of a feedback to the player, and another one to give another feedback to the player to make the illusion that it pushes it up. As you can see from this piece of code here, the actual grate will go up depending on the timeline length and the timeline speed. When it's finished, you'll be able to see that it does this action once in order to deactivate best particle system. I'm setting it to go down very quickly, so I'm setting the play rate of the timeline just to have the cog collapse into the ground very quickly. And in here you can see that I'm actually ending the rattle of the grate, deactivating the smoke, and I'm reversing the actual timeline with this little custom event which I've got here. The next one I'm going to show you is pistons powered with buttons. I've set up the pistons a little bit differently, exposing the values. So if I click on this one here, you're able to see that the reverse is unticked. Same goes with this button. I've also made sure that I've got an array set so that I can add more elements to it. The elements of being type mechanism platform, which is this one here. For now, I'm just gonna simply delete this one here and delete this one here. Since for this example, I'm just gonna be showing you 3 of them. With this button, it works exactly the same as this one, but in this case, it's got reverse. Same as these pistons, this has got reverse on it, but this one doesn't. Now I'm going to demonstrate the 2 different piston/button types. With this button, if you ground slam onto it, the button will stay down and the pistons will go up. They'll stay up as they are since the button is pressed. With this button, however, if you ground slam onto this button, you can see that it's currently down and the pistons are going up. As soon as you get off the button goes up, and then the pistons will go down. This is done on a very short timeline, and currently, if you press it down and you have the piston to go back down, you're able to have the piston crush the player. You're able to see that I'm setting the different play rate, which is random for the actual timeline itself, for the pistons to go up or down. And the values are 0.75 to 1.5. That just defines the speed on how fast or slow the timeline takes the piston down or up. In here, I'm just creating a quick reference to the player so that I don't have to cast to the player every singular time I want to have a reference. This here basically allows for the 2 trigger boxes to kill the player, providing that the player overlaps with both of them. You can see here that I'm setting the player's health to 0, and I'm resetting this do once, so it doesn't infinitely kill the player, it just does it once. As for the actual triggers, you're able to see that I've set up 2 different booleans, collision top as well as collision bottom. On begin overlaps, the collision top as well as collision bottom, if the player overlaps with both of them, it will be set to true, and then it will perform a check, which is right here, the custom event, as we discussed. So if both of these values are true, kill the player. If, however, the player steps out of the collision boxes, both of these values are set to false, and there's no need to do the check to kill the player, since the player is not inside of the collision boxes. As for the actual timeline, you're able to see that I'm setting no collision for both of these triggers when the timeline actually plays. However, I'm reverting them back to half collision when the piston starts to go down. And this happens for both of the triggers to basically have no collision when they play, and when they reverse, they have collision back again. In here, you're able to see that the platform starts at 26. This is just the default value that I've set for the actual platform piston, which is right here, and it goes up to 250 units in the Z-axis, so it goes up. In here, I'm setting the delay to 3 seconds. I could actually expose this value and increase the delay once it's public outside of this blueprint if I wanted to. For now, I'll just leave it as non-editable. Right here, you can see when the timeline is finished, it will actually go to reverse. It will do it once, check the amount of delay that we set, which is 3 seconds, and reverse the platform, which is this custom event right here. Thank you for watching this week's episode on Marvel's Razor's Wrath, the Cognition DLC. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and obey. Peace.